This is Blessed Radio. It's Tuesday evening. This is just after 6 p.m. UK time on Blessed Radio. Actually, the clocks have gone back over this weekend. So some people might be, hopefully they will tune in at the right moment, but they may not know that. So yes, it's 6 p.m., just past 6 p.m. in UK now. This is the spiritual discussion program, and the aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Uprushing. I'm Saad in southeast London, where right now it is dark. The sun has already set as the clocks have gone back, so it's getting darker now and quicker. With me should be joining Gregory soon. He's on his way. So whenever he's ready, he will be joining us. And every week we have a topic for discussion. And the topic tonight is near-death experience. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments. And the number to contact us is, our UK number is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. There's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. And the website is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. There, if you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. You can type in any questions or comments there. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message in the Light of Truth by Uprushing is the spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world. A picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the readers again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Uprushing. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail Message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic that we are discussing tonight is near-death experiences or experience. Near-death experience, also abbreviated as NDE, but I'm going to continue to call it near-death experiences so that it's always clear what we are talking about. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, the number 1.com. And if you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. So, dear listeners, I'm still waiting for Gregory to join us, but I will start, without him for now. And whenever he joins us, it'll be fine. So, as normal, I always like to look up the meaning of the words of the topic. So, the topic tonight is near-death experience. Now, the words I looked up in the dictionary, the first word is near. And it says at or a short distance away, nearby. And normally I would ask Gregory these questions, but I'm going to ask it to myself and give my own answers. So, okay, a short distance away, nearby. I will say it's that meaning is not as, let's say, it's too physical in its concept. But if you take it metaphorically, it's quite good. Okay. The second meaning in the dictionary for the word near, this is of course in the context of the topic, not in other cases. Of course, it would mean those words would be quite appropriate. So another meaning given in the dictionary for the word near is a short time away in the future. Again, I will say that's not really correct for our discussion. So I would say the word near, meaning that almost something's happened, I will in a way have to really look at the whole topic as a whole, near-death experience, to really give it a proper picture. So near death, you didn't say near death, almost dying, so almost. The word I would use for near in this discussion tonight would be almost. Then this next word we have is death. We have got a few meanings of the word death in the dictionary. First one, it says a permanent cessation of all vital functions, the end of life. Well, I think this word end of life, or the life, needs to be, again, as Gregory says it many times, must be set in the right context. So I would say when we are talking about death here, and in our discussion, we are talking about earthly death. It's not the real death of the human being. It's just the earthly death. And we do continue to live beyond this earthly death. Of course, many may not be aware of that or believe in that, or however, we will, in our discussions, being a spiritual show, that is what we look at. And tonight's show, we will be looking at that near-death experience. What happens at death, or in our case, almost death, because this one is about near-death experience. There's a number of definitions for death in the dictionary. It says the instance of dying. So there it doesn't tell you what is death, but just a moment of dying. So somebody has died, death. We are talking about near death today, or tonight. So it is, let's say, close to death, we can say. That's why I've used the word for near almost. The other meanings I'm looking at them, I'll just say them. It says the cause or occasion of loss of life. So again, that is a loss of earthly life, not the end of life. Cause of ruin. That won't be relevant as for a human being, so that wouldn't be good for tonight's show. Then we have another meaning of death, the destroyer of life, represented usually as a skeleton with a scythe or scythe. And that, I will say, is in the folklore. You see that representation of a skeleton representing death, skeleton with a scythe, or scythe, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. So that word is a symbolic picture of death. So that is, again, not really relevant because we want to talk about reality rather than symbolic. Then there's another meaning they've given for death, state of no longer being alive, the state of being dead. Again, that's we get to keep reminding us that this is earthly death we are referring to. So no longer alive in their physical body, I can understand it in that way, but not complete death, not the death of our soul or spirit, which is the living being, actually, the true living human being. And then the passing, another meaning of death is passing or destruction of something inanimate. Well, we are animate, so it's cannot be referring to us. Or maybe can talk the body has been destruct. Well, it wouldn't be destroyed. It would just, if it's a natural death, let's say it would come to the end of its life, the earthly life, the body, or it could be accident or some other violent way that we have been killed, and the body is no longer able to continue to function. So yes, if we call it earthly death, the death of the body, then yes, this is the correct understanding of the word death. And then the final meaning given is extinction. Well, usually when you say extinction, you're referring to a species. So we are not talking about extinction for tonight. And the third word in our topic is experience. So in the dictionary, it's giving again a number of definitions. The first one is direct observation or participation in events as a basis of knowledge. So that sounds very good, actually. A direct observation or participation in events as the basis of knowledge. So that's real personal experience, isn't it? So that's a very good definition. The other one they've said is fact or state of having been affected by or gain knowledge through direct observation. So that's having an experience, I guess. One was verbally, and the other one was a noun, I would say. So, okay, that's the same thing, really. Then there's experience giving us practical knowledge, skill, or practice derived from direct observation or participation in events or particular activity. So again, it's probably referring to work or some skill. It is truly, that is an experience as well. Strictly in practical knowledge, okay, so that I will say that applies in the work field or skill field here, but tonight we are talking about death, so it's a bit different. And then I'm just looking at the other words, other meanings, and see if there's anything useful there. Yeah, something experienced, something personally encountered, undergone, or lived through. So that's very good definition there. A personal experience, something encountered personally or lived through. Another one is conscious events that make up an individual's life. So being conscious of what you're going through in life, that's for sure, that is, I would call it experiencing. And the act or process of directly perceiving events or reality. So that's called experiencing. So yes, that is a good definition. But the act or process of directly perceiving events or reality. I'm just checking if Gregory is available to join. I'm just checking that now. Not yet, it appears, but I will continue. So what I felt, so those were individual words of the topic, near-death experience. Then I thought, let me look, near-death experience is really a concept or a phenomena, which is better to look at what definition is given as the whole concept rather than the individual word. So there is a meaning I found of near-death experience. It's given as an unusual experience taking place on the brink of death and recounted by a person on recovery, typically an out-of-body experience or a vision of a tunnel of light. I will say this is really quite a good definition of the concept of near-death experience, because near-death is all about almost dying. And yes, when do you have it? I mean, you're on the brink of death, and it happens. So where are the examples of this near-death experience happening? Many have been experienced by people who have been going through an operation in a hospital, and either they were made unconscious, during that operation. And then they could actually see, incredibly, even though they were unconscious, they could see what the operation was, a process, what was happening in that process. And then when they were revived after the operation, they could now recount to the doctors or whoever was involved in this operation what was going on, which is incredible, and that this person was supposed to be unconscious. So there are many such stories of that. Let's call them true stories, because they could really say what was happening. And then, of course, it's a surprise to know that. So how is that happening? Well, they give the example, they say the word out of body. That's your clue. It means something has left the body, or maybe not quite left the body, but is, let's say, a little bit released from the body. And that's what's able to observe what is going on on his body or her body. So I'm not going to say much on that just now. Yes, I don't want to say right now more on that, because I want to read something else also, which I found on Wikipedia, which is giving a definition also of near-death experience. So let me go there. Researchers have identified common elements that define near-death experiences. Bruce Grayson argues that the general features of experience include impressions of being outside one's physical body, visions of deceased relatives and religious figures, and transcendence of the egotic and I don't even know what this word is, but spatio-temporal boundaries. Many common elements have been reported, although the person's interpretation of these events often corresponds with the cultural, philosophical, or religious beliefs of the person experiencing it. For example, in the US, where 46% of the population believes in guardian angels, the light will often be identified as angels or deceived loved ones, or will be unidentified, while Hindus will often identify them as messengers of God of death, the god of death. And they've said, it's all about experiencing. That's what is clear of this process where one is leaving one's body. Notice that word, one is leaving one's body. So there's a body and there's a one. So that looks like a body is something that we wear. There's a clue there. Again, we're going to explore all that in more detail. So in Wikipedia, it continues. It says of the meaning of the concept of near-death experience. There are common traits have been reported by NDEs, which is the abbreviation of near-death experience. These are the common traits. A sense of awareness of being dead. A sense of peace, well-being, painlessness, and other positive emotions. A sense of removal from the world. An intense feeling of unconditional love and acceptance. Experiencing euphoric environments. An out-of-body experience, a perception of one's body from an outside position, sometimes observing medical professionals performing resuscitation efforts. A tunnel experience or entering a darkness, a sense of moving up or through a passageway or staircase. A rapid movement toward or sudden immersion in a powerful light or beings of light or beings dressed in white who communicate telepathically with the person. Being reunited with deceased loved ones. Receiving a life review, commonly referred to as seeing one's life flash before one's eyes. Approaching a border or decision by oneself or others to return to one's body, often accompanied by a reluctance to return. Suddenly finding oneself back inside one's body. And lastly, connection to the cultural beliefs held by the individual, which seem to dictate some of the phenomena experienced in the NDE, but more so affects the later interpretation thereof. So, and they give some point of what is out-of-body experience, or so they say, note that an out-of-body experience may be part of a near-death experience, but can happen in instances other than when a person is about to die, such as fainting, deep sleep, alcohol or drug use. So there is a difference between out-of-body experience and near-death experience, because out-of-body experience may not be resulting in death because of other factors like fainting, deep sleep, alcohol or drug use. So that's good to know that. Now I want to focus truly on the near-death experiences. So remember, this is a spiritual discussion program. So all these definitions up to now, or the concept up to now, have only focused on the physical, or let's say the physical or the earthly side of the near-death experience. And it doesn't really give it only gives part of the picture. And we really need to have the bigger picture, which always comes in when we take account of the spiritual aspect of life. So from listening to this show, many of the listeners would be aware of that we human beings on this earth are having this physical body, but the body is actually not us. We are actually a spirit, some people call it soul, which inhabits this physical body. And it's the living being really that is in our body is the spirit. Once the spirit leaves the body, then that body cannot be active at all of anything concerning life. So this is when we talk about near-death experience, it looks like, I would say, it is involved. The process, what's happening there is the spirit has become loosened from its body. Because it's called near-death experience, it means the person comes back to life at the end. So it means the spirit hasn't permanently left. That's why it's a near-death experience rather than death. So almost death. That's why I use the word almost for the word near. That's really the process that's going on. So I just want to actually, the first question I had for Gregory was about death. So what is death? So the real death is when the spirit has actually left the body. So that's the true death. And it just suddenly I just remembered that when Jesus did some miracles where he raised some people from death, it looks like, oh, how did he? It looks like a miracle, of course. How did he do that if the person is really dead? Well, it only appeared that they had died because they had been only dead for a few days, in the sense of the body wasn't moving. However, the spirit had yet to leave the body. And until that connection with the body is disconnected, only that is the true death. So similarly, what's happening with the near-death experiences. Before I continue. So Jesus, being who he was, the Son of God, he could see if a person had really died or the spirit was still connected with the body. And as long as that spirit was still connected with the body, he could recall the spirit back into the body to become activate again. And that's how he could bring those people it looked like they had died, but not really fully died as such, because the spirit had not left the body. So he could recall the spirit back. And many times he would say, rise or awake. So if you not understood that, then that's what you will, you would understand that process very well. Okay, I'm just going to check now if Gregory is available. So if you just give me a moment. Okay, there's somebody who would like to join in the show. So I would like to bring them in. Okay, let me just go 1 second. So this is... Hello, Mrs. Ignoy, you're live on the radio now. And I would like to ask you if you'd like to say something now.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying the cool evening.
Unfortunately, they can't reply to you, but I hope they hear you. So yes, thank you for saying that. Actually, I have another person who would like to join the show. Let me just so let me just add him to the call. Just give me 1 second, please. I just want him to, yes, because he's also helped with the show. He's actually contributing. He made a contribution for tonight's show as well. So let me just add him now. 1 moment, please. I'm going to go to my Skype and add. Right, where is that? Okay, let me add him now. So hopefully he'll be, now he's not available. me try one more time.
While Mr. Faruqi is trying, I want to thank you all for taking out your time from your busy day to spend with us. We really do appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay. Looks like, okay, so I'm not able, he's calling me. It's funny. You know, this happens a lot with phone calls. When you're trying to call the person, they want to call at the same time, and then we can't talk to each other because we are trying to, it's like crossing wires, you know? So it's happening here, I'm afraid, and I'm trying. Hope I've not lost myself. No, I'm there. So apologies, listeners. We're having a little bit unexpected things going on. I don't know if that's going to work. Let me call him. Yeah, just a second. Here we go. Okay, that's not working as I would like. Okay, we'll just have to get him involved later. So, Mrs. Ignon, would you like to say something else to the listeners to, share about this topic tonight of near-death experience?
Yes, I do. As I was saying, as you were talking about things not going as planned, it just goes to, life happens. You plan your best and life happens. And today we are dealing with the topic of near-death experience, which means you living your life and something happens and, it's not yet time to go. But you've been granted that grace of experiencing that outside your physical body is you who animates that body, who uses that body. Isn't that a wonderful grace to being permitted to go and come and have that realization when you come back that, you did experience life outside your body and you were granted to come back? What do you think?
Yes, I mean, let's say most of us don't think about death at all. And only when this type of discussion comes up that you start thinking, maybe there is something there. But, it's like an unknown. We don't really, as I said, think about it. And then we hear the stories, like, in fact, this is how the topic was chosen tonight, near-death experience, because somebody shared with us a video which is a story of a person's personal experience of near death. And they actually went there into you could say, the next world. And they saw what they saw. I'm not going to go too much into it right now. And then they came back and they wanted to share that with us, the people on the earth here. And let's say it didn't seem to, it corresponded with other people who've had near-death experiences, but it didn't correspond with what we are taught, you could say, about, for example, life after death, through beliefs, or there are people who are, of course, skeptics. They don't believe anything after life on earth. They think that's the end of us. So all these are like big questions. And like you say, Mrs. Bino, you said that these things are not expected. They just happen. Some people have experienced, for example, I was talking about hospital operation where somebody has been put into the I've forgotten the word what they do. Not coma as such, but it's actually make yourself unconscious to be, to do the operation. And then some of those people are having this experience of near death where they actually see what's happening to them, even though they're supposedly unconscious, which is really, we could say, shocking for the doctors and the nurses when the person start telling them, you were doing this and you were doing that. And then said, no.
That's why I'm saying that it is a grace. To be permitted to actually experience that, because a lot of people go and never have the opportunity to come back and tell what they've experienced.
Right.
And also, we should also bear in mind that even in these marshes, the law of gravity takes place.
Yes.
You cannot go to where you do not belong. You cannot be attracted to where you do not belong. So,
Actually, that's very big. That's a really big thing because our listeners, you know from our previous shows, there are the laws of nature, the laws of creation, and one of those laws is gravity. And you might think, oh, we know it on the Earth very well. Whatever is heavy falls and whatever is light rises. But these laws operate in, let's say, the whole of creation, not just this physical world, the earthly world, which we are very familiar with this physical world, but they actually operate all throughout of the creation. And of course, the rest of creation, not the earthly one, is different in the sense to what different in the sense of the principles are the same. So, law of gravity operates there. The law of attraction of homogeneous species. That's one of the other laws. And the other law is just since we are talking about the laws, we might have mentioned all the laws. The other law is law of reciprocal action. So what you sow, you shall reap. That's a simple another way to put it. The other one is law of attraction of homogeneous species. So like attracts like. That's another simple way to put it. And the law of gravity, of course, we don't need any explanation. So those laws are operating not only on this physical world, but also in this beyond but the way they operate, how can I say, is just a different world there, but the same laws are still operating. So this, yes, so that's really important to be aware. Go ahead, Mr. Binoy, go ahead.
To further my own view of what you've just said is that our opinion of it is not what counts. But that which is what counts. The best we can do is to realize that we do not yet know what is. So therefore, it falls on us to look for every opportunity to understand what life is about. And luckily for us, we have such work as the Grail Message, which explains to us to the finest bits the laws of creation.
Yes.
Our own parts in these laws of creation and how they weave, irrespective of how we behave, what we do. Because sometimes I think we think that life revolves around us.
Mm-hmm.
We do not realize that we are but a part species, a subspecies of several species that exist in the multiverse, if I can say
Yes.
that.
Yes.
In this endless universe that we as human beings can never, ever fathom. So, once we are granted that grace of being able to experience life outside our body and be permitted to come and tell of it, what I think in my mind is, oh, what a grace that human spirit has. So, I'm looking at the human spirit, first of all.
Yes.
And I'm looking at, okay, why did it happen?
Yes. So what you're saying is life is such a wonder that, yes, we appreciate being on this earth. There's a lot of, let's say, beautiful places here. I know things are not always great as well, but there's so many beautiful things from nature. You can always appreciate things from nature. And you can go to the deepest oceans and find new things there. Even space, it doesn't seem to be. There's endless nature that we can admire. And that's all only the physical world. That's still not the whole world, if I say the word.
The possibilities are endless. The possibilities are endless, and even in 100 years from now, we would still not have been able to discover 1/10 of the possibilities that life holds alone. Life on Earth alone holds, not to talk of the multiverse.
What you pointed to there just now is there's a development going on with us, human beings, not only us, other creatures as well, but we mostly focus about us. And so there's a development. So we know even on this earth, we've been, let's say how many hundreds of thousands of years we've been here already. So things have changed in the time. What we were, let's say the early man to what is today, humanity, and which is going to continue. And then that's just still only the physical, and that there is much more. There is the beyond. And this is what the show is. Sorry, go on, Mrs. Binoy.
You're right. There is the beyond. And you use the word there that I want us to look at, development.
Yes.
The actual form of things we see changes with time.
Yes.
However, the core of it remains the same.
Yes.
So the human spirit uses this physical body to experience on earth. But at the same time, my question I want to understand, or I want us to discuss, why does it need the physical body, first of all?
Right.
And why is it that which animates the body, that which wears the body, like a human being wears a cloth, and then walks around with it? Why is it that when the human being, the person who uses that body, leaves, that body becomes inanimate? So I just, let's just have a conversation about that, and then,
Okay.
if that's okay with you.
Yes. So yes, what Mr. Mono just said there. So when we talk about near death, we basically the point is that we are having a physical body on this earth to, let's say, walk around and do what we need to do. But then why are we having that body? It means that we are something else, not just the body, it seems. So, and that's really what it is. You can see. So if we are not, I mean, there's a question: where do we come from? I mean, everything's like there's multiple questions coming out from just one little question. So yes, so we are wearing a body on this earth, the physical body. And what is the purpose of that body? Well, obviously, we need to move around, we need to eat, we need to live, reproduce. All these things we are doing with this physical body, educating, whatever, multiple tasks we do. But then that body isn't actually us. That's what you've said. We're wearing this body. So what is it that is us? You can call it. What is the actual us? The living being. I like to call it the living being, just to make it like an easy, neutral way to look at it. Well, we are humans, so let's call it a human living being. And then, but then what is the living being itself? It doesn't seem to be the body, because that's what the near death shows. People who are the near death, they left the body. They actually left and they came back. So it means that something is living in this body.
Yeah, if you look at it from that angle, that means that there is a place where we came from, and this body is given to us like a cloth to wear to come to this earth.
Yes.
So first of all, why do we need the earth? Could it also be that the reason why the earth exists is just because you and I needed a place to experience? But experience what?
Yes. So the clue was in the title, near-death experience. So there's an experiencing. So we talk about death, but actually the big word is experience. So we are experiencing with the body, using the body to experience. And so what is the experience? Like you said, what is the experience that we need to have on this earth? Why are we on this earth? And well, and we gave the clue already: development, learning. There's something to learn.
Developing to what? To why do we need it?
Okay, so
the reason why I'm asking this is because if you check all religions, all ancient writings, they point to the fact that the human being is more than his body. So even the atheists or anybody those who don't believe in anything beyond what they can't see cannot tell me that the moment they sit down to think about it, it doesn't occur to them that there is something that can't be explained beyond the physical eyes. So if you look at it from there, and that we are here to experience, what is the essence of that experience?
Okay.
Why do we? Okay, today a lot of us are experiencing war, are experiencing tragedies. Why are we experiencing that? So it's the experiencing I want us to discuss, if that is okay with you.
Yes. So the experiencing, although well, everybody's experiencing different experiences. So it looks like some people need to learn one thing, another one may need to learn thing, or maybe, although we haven't said it in this show yet, we are aware there's something called reincarnation, and
exactly.
And that which every human being has had at least, let's say, a number of lives before this life already, which means we have had experiences already from our previous life on this. This is on the earth I'm talking about. So, and So in one life, we are not getting the full experience, and then, of course, it will be different in each life. So there seems to be
So
a
that means, sorry, I'm going to be interrupting you, so I
yes.
don't lose
It's
my
okay.
train of thought.
It's
If
all
that's
right.
okay.
It's all right.
So that means that if we are here to experience, that means one earth life that we know of now is not enough to get this experience. So which means we have to wear multiple bodies, die several times, come back to get experience.
Right.
That means that one earth life, no matter what you think it is not, you do not have you do not have enough experience to be able to go back to where we came from.
Right.
Are you following my train of thought?
Yes. I mean, I always wondered, if I'm honest, many times in my life, I wondered, there's some people are let's say, die almost soon after they're born. Others live a full life, and then you wonder, whoa, wait a minute, why is that person dying as a baby, and another one is living their full life? It's like doesn't feel justice. It doesn't feel like a justice. It doesn't feel fair. Why one should be allowed to live the full life, another one should die? But when you know about reincarnation, then you say, that could be a reason for them. Whatever is the reason why they had a short life, they can come back and continue, in the next life, and maybe they have a full life in that one. And of course, if you are having multiple earth lives, to say that clearly, multiple earth lives, it means, your life continues. Yes, today you are here, in the next one you're somewhere else, and there should be, at least let's say in my way of thinking, if you believe in justice, there should be a connection between what is this previous life to the next one, because you can't just, it shouldn't be you just, let's say randomly is probably not the right word, accidentally born, because people do say, oh, I was born by accident, these are my parents who brought me here. It's not my fault I'm on earth, my parents brought me here. And that's like an injustice. Then you think, oh, it's injustice. It's automatically injustice comes in your mind. But I'm not satisfied. Justice can never make sense to me in my own way of thinking. I cannot say, no. If it's meant to, if you believe in logic, or you believe in all, or accept logic as a thing, then all these things, there must be a justice. And even if its earthly justice is not, let's say, perfect, but then there has to be, again, unfairness comes in. If there's not perfection somewhere, then it's injustice going on. So then when
let me take you, if you don't mind, let me take us back to the multiple earth lives.
Yes.
That presupposes that if you're granted multiple earth life, that means there's a beginning of that earth life and there's an end to which you are granted multiple earth life. So it is not something that happens infinitively.
Yes.
Right?
Okay,
so
yes.
That means in each earth life you have come, you have done good deeds, you have done bad deeds. And if you say the beginning, the end always rolls back to the beginning, which means the several times you've been allowed to come to this earth, you have done deeds, you have sown good seeds and not good seeds.
Right.
And these will come back. You have to get the reward of what you've done.
Yes.
So it now makes sense when you think of the earth life, when you now say, oh, okay, a child dies. A child is born and has, with so much diseases, so much, the child has to experience inexplicable pain, and then eventually is allowed to die. Then we begin to ask the question, what did that person do in their previous earth life that have brought about them having to experience this level of pain in this short earth life?
Yes.
So then when you look at it from that angle, the idea of injustice doesn't hold. Because there cannot be injustice when, let's take, for example, people now, as we're talking, we can think of people who saw so much evil, who put people in danger, who you name it, the most horrible thing they do.
Yes.
You can don't think that there is no justice. There is justice because this person will die. This person has sown strength. This person has sown things that in their next earth life they will have to account for. Every single thing has to be accounted for. You can't take it over with you. So each earth life is a grace. If you think that each earth life is a grace, and then you're not permitted to have this experience where you have to experience an outer body experience to understand that, okay, this experience I'm going through, this thing, whatever I brought about the shortening of my life for a period, is for me to understand that whatever it is, there's an experience, there is a reckoning after the body leaves. Am I making sense?
Yes, yes, yes. Just one person made a comment. I believe Gregory's there now. But I just want to say, one listener has made a comment. Can we please speak slowly? Because, maybe they can't follow us so much. So if we can just speak a little bit slowly. So, but I think Gregory is now there. Let me just check that. One moment.
Gregory is here.
Yes,
ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure being here this evening.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Yes.
Ciao.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. We'll confirm now. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye now. Gregory, are you there now? I just want to make sure.
Of course, I'm here.
I could see you in the background just now, so welcome.
Yes,
so, Gregory, I don't know what you managed to hear so far, but I think we've talked a lot, so I don't want to sort of recap on it, really. We basically, the topic is, just to remind, in case I'm sure Gregory knows the topic already, the topic, of course, is near-death experience. But what we just, in the last moments, we've been noticing this word experience. So even though we are talking about near-death experience, and we've already discussed what is death and so on, it's the word experience seems to be the bigger word in the topic tonight. And that's what we have come to recognize or appreciate, let's say. And so it's not, and I've already distinguished that, yes, there's the physical angle of death, that earthly death that we are aware of, but it's not the death that, as we know, the life actually continues beyond this life. And this body that we, or that how we operate on this earth is with the body that we are wearing. And so what is basically the point came to all this experiencing, what is the purpose of everything, this life then, you know, especially now we have even said there's been multiple lives through reincarnation. So that comes to what is the purpose behind it all. So Craig, let me come to a question for you now. Near-death experience. Yes, can we just look at the purpose of, Gregory, of near-death experience? What would be the purpose? Because not all, let's say very few people experience that near-death experience, and there seem to become different people to how they were before they had the near-death experience. So is there some special purpose concerning near-death experience?
Well, thanks for that particular question. It's an assumption to say that very few people experience this so-called near-death experience. It is those people who have spoken out that have been recorded. There are some who have had these experiences or have been having these experiences as a matter of course, and to them, there is no need to discuss it. Therefore, these so-called experience or near-death experience, that is only useful for the person who, in quotes, have experienced it when it has an impact on one's consciousness. That means it has an impact on subsequently on the day consciousness, and it has an impact on the senses that one uses. These are the tools one uses. Basically, one is referring to one's intuitions and also one's thoughts, because that is how one remembers. And these are processes, or these are occurrences which help to jolt the individual to awaken. But the whole thing is surprising because many always consider what what is hereafter. But to understand what is hereafter, to know where you will be going, is it not better to know where you're coming from? At least to know where you were before you incarnated, and then subsequently one's experiences here on earth, and finally how it's going to shape the future when one has departed. And even before one start talking about departure, what is it that is departing? The so-called near-death experience. What is it that is experiencing it? The so-called incarnation. What is it that has incarnated? Only when we have a good idea of where we're coming from would we have a better perspective of where we are and most likely where we're going. If we're always worried about what's going to happen in the future, then we haven't started. Because the past and the future are determined or have been consumed in our activities in the present. Because depending on how the individual has lived their life, if that liveliness, that living is in accordance with the laws through which they themselves ever came into existence, whether here on earth or in the beyond, if it resonates with the will that made it possible for the inner core of man to exist at all, then in all naturalness, that personality will draw the strength and draw the powers from on high, draw the blessings, and will be able to sort of support activities consciously or unconsciously, such that there will be enrichment everywhere. So even the so-called near-death experience is part of it.
Thank you, Gregory, for that. This topic is incredibly, how can I say, thought-provoking and, making us examine this life in a very serious way and in an open way, you can say. So it's a very interesting topic. I just want to let the listeners know that this is Bless Radio, and it's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushi. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that www.grail, that's GRAIL, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight on the show is near death experience. Near death experience. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's another way you can contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you go down on the home page, you will see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I said, we are broadcasting on blessradio1, the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again that's the number 1 there, space live stream. That's for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to a recording of this show the next day, again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1 there, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is near death experience. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO .fm/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, there's, let's say, so many, let's say, views or different experiences, and people have tried to give their own different explanations for this near-death experience. Of course, they're looking from the physical angle. So let's say that is only one angle. So sometimes they say, oh, it could be hallucination, or it could be the effect of, let's say it was a near-death experience in the hospital, maybe the drugs they were giving the patient that had an influence on the person. I'm trying to think of some other example. So when people say these things, I'm just trying to see people say that, or give this, let's say, in points. So let me just go back again. So some people saying, oh, it's a hallucination. Some people saying it's the drugs if it's in the hospital for the patient. I'm trying to see if there's one other one. Yeah, so are these, Gregory, can they be, these 2 points that I've raised, would they have an effect on a person having a near-death experience, making it not genuine anymore? Or is this completely false?
Well, those who make statements such as you just expressed are making personal statements. They themselves really haven't gone through it. So how can they pass a statement or judgment on that which they themselves have not experienced? They lack the basis for any discussion. Such are best ignored. Similar to what you have in hypnosis. For those who really haven't experienced hypnosis or seen the effect of hypnosis, many are likely to deny it. And subsequently, when some have experienced it or have had discussions with those who experienced it, then it becomes a different story. So, these so called near death experience, one must look at these things from a different perspective. For if you view these things from a different, from the context or perspective of the brain alone or the frontal brain alone, then it is not complete. Again and again, there had been discussions that there are three aspects. There is that aspect, the perspective of deeds, of material deeds which are perceptible using the five senses which we know. That is what many people rely on. There is another perspective of one's thoughts. These thoughts, whether people agree or disagree, it remains the same that people have thoughts. There are many who would say they have never seen thoughts, or never had thoughts, or never smelled thoughts. That's completely immaterial because one is moving into rare areas of different substantialities, finer substantiality, although they are still in the world of matter or gross matter, as one may care to call it. And the most challenging is that perception of the intuitive perception. That perspective, that is what, when combined with thoughts and deeds, the effects of one's intuition may have effects or may have a bearing on one's thoughts. The effects of one's thoughts may have a bearing on one's deeds. One said may have, because sometimes we will be thinking one thing and doing another thing. But that does not deny the fact that there are thoughts. The same thing with one's intuition, which intuition furnishes the individual with a picture without words, a picture which is lively or without words. These things are there and they have their effects. Just as in our deeds, we can ignore what our thoughts are in the case of deceptions, so also with our intuition, our thoughts can also ignore them. And that has always been the biggest challenge. So when one's intuition registers, but it's ignored, and many then rely on their thoughts, that means on their frontal brain, ignoring the picture which has been furnished by the back brain, that again is a fundamental error. And that is why you have the so-called near-death experience people, depending on their limitations, try to explain these things from one side only. Some will try to explain it from the side of the deeds, and they just hold there, stops there. Some will try to explain it from one's thoughts and no further. Some will combine them. Some others will consider the intuitive perception. Only when these three are coordinated can one have a comprehensive and well-rounded picture. It's a challenging thing for those who are always filled with doubts and for those who are too indolent to examine in deeds, to examine in thoughts, and to examine in their intuitions. Also, for those who are too indolent to weigh in deeds, to weigh in thoughts, and to weigh in their intuitions.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for these words. Now, I did say, I think early on in the show, that the topic was chosen, this near-death experience, through somebody sent us a video of somebody's personal experience of near-death experience. And we won't be playing the video. It's too long for the show. Is not suitable to play such a long video, or just even the sound of it. But I want to briefly give a summary of what the video was saying. This is a personal story of somebody who experienced near-death experience. The person had a cough and suddenly seemed to become worse, and he was sent into hospital in the end. And then there, I can't remember if he had an operation or they gave him some drugs anyway, and he became unconscious there. And in this state, he now entered this near-death experience. And basically, how he described it is that it was a place of darkness, and there was a light at the end. They say like an end of a tunnel. So he saw this light, and also he felt at peace there. He felt connected with everything there. And then he found a light, he called it a light being, appeared, and he could just, he also knew that he was not on this earth right at that moment as well, all this time that he so left his body, and he was in this world. So he could say that he knew he had died. So he was aware of his situation. And previously he had been a skeptical person in all these, not really religious or in any way believing anything with life after death and so on. So all of this is, in that sense, it would be shocking for him had he been on this earth and reflecting about or thinking about this, but he would never have thought about it. But when he was in this world, these were not even a question for him. It was just reality for him. This is actually what it is, where he is. He seemed to know this is where he is and all that. And then he also said that he could communicate with thought, with this light being and so on. So the light being can say something to him and he can say something back, all by thought. So you can see that although the world may look different in the beyond, on this near-death experience, but there are still things that are common, which are familiar with this on this earth. We can still do that in this world of the beyond, And as I say, he felt peace and all this. And these are, by the way, if people do research on it and get accounts from elsewhere of near-death experiences, you'll find this is very similar to what others have experienced. So, but this person who was, as I say, skeptical, he knew nothing about this, when he had this experience, and only when he came back did he actually started doing some research and discovering that yes, he's not the only person who has been through that. but the incredible thing about this experience for him was that he had no doubt that this was real, you know. And and one of them, when he had this communication with the light being or other beings around there in the beyond, it was told to him that he has a mission, which is basically to let people know about this world of the beyond, that is there. But while he was there, there's so many things he discovered. I mean, we could spend a show on each of these points, let's say, that he experienced. And I would like to look at this now with you, Gregory. Um, let's see now. Uh, okay, so I'm just trying to pick something. Okay, so as I said, he felt connected with everything, and what he felt was there was like a one consciousness, or maybe he connects with one consciousness. So, Gregory, let's look at that. Uh, on this earth, we are individuals. Everybody's an individual. We think freely. We do act on our own. Okay, and then here, when we enter this world of the beyond, let's call it the beyond, in this near-death experience, it seems that, as I say, you are connected, interconnected. You get this feeling, and there's peace and such, and like one consciousness. That's what a person was experiencing. So, does it mean, Gregory, that we become merged with this world of the beyond when we leave this earth, or are we still an individual?
First, I thought there must be some clarification. It is said near-death experience. It means the person is not dead completely. For were that person dead completely, the silver cord which attaches the physical body to the other bodies which the spirit wears will have been severed. That is death. But in the case of near-death experience, that silver cord is not severed. There is a loosening. Because there is a loosening, you find that the soul is able now to experience much quicker, because the physical body, the restrictions, the limitations of the physical body are to a large extent minimized, and the vibrations of the soul is now able to experience. One will explain that, what all this means. In the so-called near-death experience, not all of them are the same. For you will have that the individual who has lived his or her life in the living here on earth or in the beyond, the individual has woven in accordance with his or her abilities, and therefore the immediate environment of that individual is permeated by his or her thoughts, by his or her intuitions, and the returns that have been generated due to his or her activities. So all these form the immediate environment. So you have some whose immediate environment are dark and terrible. Therefore, you may have another person whose immediate environment are a bit brighter, better than the average. They experience differently. One thing is clear in this particular case, so-called near death, that the connection between the physical body and the other side has not been severed. Therefore, you have a lot of variation. But to understand very clearly or to comprehend this soul, these experiences, these phenomena, the laws through which creation came into existence, the laws through which the individual came into existence at all, the laws through which the individual must, through his activities, mature and return back to its origin, or may return to its origin as a matured human spirit, and may therefore enter its origin and continue to support creation as a matured member, or may return back and go back to the initial state of unconsciousness. More of this one may examine through the walk in the light of truth, Grail Message. That is very clear. And then you will find that different individuals, depending on how they have lived their lives, even when they cross over, will have to experience differently. Even their so-called near-death experience, they also perceive these things differently. Although they may discuss certain features which are common due to the looseness of the so-called silver cord, but the extent of the looseness of the silver cord varies from person to person. And therefore, you have a variation in accounts. For some who have experienced it, and even many, we all go to sleep. And when we go to sleep, there is a slight loosening of the silver cord from the day consciousness. And in that state, we are able to experience, sometimes we find ourselves in different areas in the neighborhood of the earth, sometimes very far away, we really can't explain it. That does not mean we have matched. It means our vibrations, which vibrations have limitations because of the impact of the physical body. Now that the physical body is at rest and is not in full motion as it was during day consciousness, the soul is now able to perceive more because the vibrations are much faster, to some extent unrestricted. You all know, if one had to take a very simple example, that when in those days we had television, it was black and white. The vibrations were very low. But as time went on, things were refined. The same thing with our phones nowadays. Initially, the phone, you can only make a call, not very clear. And then subsequently, we came to the internet, we started having broadband and different grades, because the faster the vibrations, the more is able to record and hold in place. Now with the phones which we use, here we are using Skype. You can use Skype in your phone, you can use Teams. There's so many things. What one is drawing here is the faster the vibrations of the soul, the more it's able to capture. And because it's able to capture more, it's able to reveal more. It's able to reveal not only what is slower, but to some extent that which is much faster than what the physical body is able to offer. But again and again, the basis, the human personality must go back and examine and weigh this work. For the work, when examined aright, will provide the answers.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer there. With regarding to the experience of near-death experience, each person is those people who are having that, if you look at just the one person's story, you can say it will be their story rather than we can make all generalization for everybody else from that. So there is a variety of stories there, but of course the principles and the concept, can I say context, is still the same. There is a beyond. That's where the person is going when they're having that near-death experience. Now, Gregory, there's another in this particular person's story. Let's say he was aware of, let's say, what religious teachings say about life after death, for example. And then this was his real personal experience that he had, and he was noticing, the spiritual or religious teachings, what he or people follow, this was a bit different. But what he came to appreciate was that, let's say for example, there's heaven and hell. That's what religious beliefs, not every belief, but many such beliefs say that. But this person's experience didn't seem to be like that. He seemed to be having, you could say, heavenly experience of light beings and so on. And then he thought when you die, there's a judgment. Or let's say that's what people have been taught to believe. And he could not see and coming in front of God for the judgment, a divine judgment. But he didn't see that either, and then when he went, because he was a skeptic person anyway, then he just went and sort of examined the teachings a bit more when he came back on this earth after his near-death experience. He said, I realized, well, actually, they're like a simplified description, picture of the reality. So it not quite, the proper reality. Which is, he said, is a little bit like a more complex. And then another point he was making was that these religions, they say, there's only one path to salvation. But he from his experience, he didn't see it like that. He saw that all these paths were there, So it seems, Gregory, the point is here that people are brought up in there's a particular teaching or belief that, heaven is this, there's hell is this, if you do bad, you go there, and this and that. But his personal experience, what he called reality, in the beyond is not like exactly what the religions are saying. Uh, he wasn't denouncing the religions, but he was saying uh, they were not. They were simplified pictures given there, or explanations given there. So. Uh, um, Now, so Gregory, can you sort of explain that, or yeah, tell us why it's like that? Why are the religions not able to give a good picture of what is the beyond, or what happens in the beyond?
Like you have mentioned or been discussed before, you cannot offer that which you yourself do not have. What you offer to others is limited to your experiences. That means what you have. Most of the time, people expect these so-called religions or teachings to provide answers to their personal questions. Whereas it is not supposed to be so. The individual is supposed to examine, to investigate, to weigh indeed that which are perceptible using the five senses, to weigh and examine in thoughts, and above all, to weigh and examine using their intuitions. Whatever teaching is there, which teaching has not yet, in accordance with the laws of creation of nature, which teaching has not yet matured to that extent to be able to provide or to point out example in deeds, in thoughts, or in intuition, then that teaching is limited to its inability or its ability to move further. For creation is dynamic. And because creation is dynamic, one must experience continuously. The religions never explain to you that you have thoughts or you do not have thoughts. It is assumed. The religions never explain to you that you have intuition or you do not have intuition. It is assumed. But the origin, how they interpret these experiences, these observations, if these observations are not based or are not explained in accordance with the laws of nature, with the laws of creation, then that is when you have all these absurdities coming up. It is the individual that judges itself in accordance with the laws of nature. No judge is going to sit down with some big cane and start judging you. No such thing exists. But the individual, in how they have sown their seeds, the returns will come. For in the sowing of seeds, in the sowing in deeds, in the sowing in thoughts, and in his sowing in intuitions, these follow the laws of motion, which laws of motion have been discussed before, that there are two basic types. That's in which the end flows back to the beginning, which gives the strongest impression of a reciprocal activity. Again, another strong impression of the attraction of homogeneity. And that is why the end flowed back to the beginning. So you already have two laws, that of reciprocal action and that of the attraction of homogeneity, or homogeneous species. And then there's the third law, in which the end does not flow back to the beginning. The end doesn't flow back to the beginning because the end is heavier, is denser than the beginning. So when you have that in the workings or in the outworkings of the human personality, his or her activities are so very dense, then the final state in which they are is denser than the initial state they started from. And such densification gives the strongest impression of compression. And that is why it is dense. Now, one can imagine, if possible, a human personality whose deeds are so very dense and it weighs upon the human personality, what many refer to as guilty conscience. That's here on it. In the beyond, it is worse than that, because the densification compresses their ability to comprehend. Therefore, for many who have woven threads, their line of activities, such that they become so very dense, it is therefore understandable the sort of heavy impressions which they will go through, which impressions does not bring them higher, but forces them to go lower, in which they have that strong feeling of being compressed. And they struggle against it. Is there anything worse than hell to have that a human personality deep within wishes to break away, but at the same time the returns of what he himself has cultivated compress him to a particular place until he himself or herself severs the threads, which threads he uses to supply energy to that which will suppress him. More of this, one may examine the work in the light of truth. It's so very simple and clear. It is the human personality that judges itself. When some in their so-called near-death experiences are able to rise higher, it is a grace for them to be able to perceive that indeed there are finer things. When they said they rose higher and they were able to experience things, they never said they were driving in cars or flying in planes. They never said they went for dinner and they were eating as much. Those things which are earthly, they didn't mention it. The impression they granted to many is that of peace. Peace, which does not mean the absence of activity, but peace, which is the absence of destruction, of wickedness. Peace, which is the presence of the one for all and all for one. Many should go and use the work in the light of truth as a basis for further examination. Then many will now experience what it is. And in coming to clarity, many will sever themselves from those base thoughts which tend to hold them down. And many a question will vanish from their inner system. For then only gratitude will then well up within for being permitted to experience these things.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for your explanation and answer. It shows that we really have to reflect deeply, what we believe and or accept. In fact, we should never do that. We should examine everything, as we are told, weigh and examine, weigh and examine. So that way you are fully responsible for what you follow, rather than believing in something and then maybe could discover that may not be true, and that could be in the beyond, not maybe on this earth, but it could be in the beyond, and that's, the world is like this there, not like what you thought it was. So we must be open in allowing us to receive and perceive, and checking, like we say, weighing and examining each of these things. So thank you for that. Dear listeners, I want to let you know you're listening to Blessed Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message, by Aprushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is near-death experience. Near-death experience. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's another way you can contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you will see a box called Blessed Chat. You can type in that box any questions or comments. And as I've already said, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. We are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space live stream. That's for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to a recording of this show the next day, again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is near death experience. Of course, you can listen to the recordings of our other previous shows as well on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, another aspect of this person's personal experience of near death, what he discovered was that he felt there's like compassion and love in this world, in this beyond world of the beyond, and which, let's say, in his earthly life, he was more, well, he doesn't say that directly, but let's say it appears that his focus was more on his earthly goals. Of it could be wealth, it could be position. He didn't go into any specific details of that. But when he came back from this world of the beyond, because yes, well, when he got to this world in the beyond, he was actually told that his mission is to come back and tell what this world is like. But as I say, part of that experience, as I say, without even being told, he noticed that love and compassion there, which so basically he shifted. He said he became transformed, completely different person to where before he sort of went there, so his priorities maybe before were more earthly, but now it was more about showing compassion, not being judgmental, and so on and so on. You could say all these good qualities. And that became the bigger priority for him, and this is what he wanted to share with the people around him, or people in this world, let's say. It doesn't have to be only his own relatives and such. So, yeah, showing kindness to people, he said, and the environment as well, not just people. So, Gregory, that shows that this world, I mean, we are, of course, we are familiar with earthly things and earthly needs and things, but there seems to be a completely different focus there in this world of the beyond. Now, what I want to ask is, yes, okay, I'll ask it like this, Gregory. So are we meant to learn, when Mrs. Igbana was on before you arrived, Gregory, we was talking about this is experiences. Life is about experiencing. And what I want to ask then, is there something we learn on the, let's say, earthly experiencing, and then we go into the beyond and experience something different there? Or is there something common that we are supposed to, like everywhere, we're supposed to have this experience? So, yeah, please, if you can tell us more on that.
Like we've been discussing over time in this forum, if one uses laws of creation as a basis to examine away, we also came to the conclusion that as long as the human personalities have the same goal, that goal to become self-conscious, you find it is all for one and one for all. That lessons can be learned here on earth such that it prepares the individual for what lies hereafter. For that individual not only applies that to the challenges here on earth, but also to the challenges that it may face when it crosses over. For when that is internalized, it guides the individual. He or she becomes sober, knowing fully well that unless that principle is applied, then there cannot be any union. There cannot be any cooperation. What one will have is warfare again and again, destroying others, destroying the works of oneself. Therefore, you find many who are permitted to have this experience, so-called near-death experience. First, when they encounter the orderliness, the helpfulness. After all, someone had to come to meet them, to guide them. That personality that came to meet them and guide them, that personality has shown a very simple example through guidance and patience. For in nature, in creation, unless the individual needs it, unless the individual needs it through striving vigorously along that direction, he or she may not have that experience. However, there are cases in which an individual is granted an experience, which when the individual examines it aright, we find that has always been the right thing. And therefore becomes sober. In all of these experiences, you find it points to the cultivation of the virtues. Which virtue is such that it compels the human personality to strive vigorously and courageously in order to have confidence in reciprocal activities, in the attraction of homogeneity, such that it may arise from its current state to a better state, continuous refinement of the soul. In that way, that which is ignoble is dropped by the individual. Then it becomes clear that only in the union of those things which are similar, which have similar goals or equivalent goals, only in that can one have harmony. That now becomes a personal experience for the individual. Then all that has precipitated problems here on earth, all that will be pushed aside. Then you find the individual will not judge by so-called religion or race or whatever. It will now come to the clear conclusion that just as he himself is striving to understand nature and creation, all right, so is the other person. And in that case, just as he himself was helped by someone in that near-death experience, so is he to help another one. So he comes to the conclusion that whoever receives of the blessings must make use of it and pass it on to others. That is what you have in the arts. Consider music. No musician composes a piece of music and plays that music for itself alone. Once that music is composed, that moves the individual, he shares it with others. One for all for one. So you find that the examples are there. It is the individual that has not struggled enough, that has not been striving enough to grasp this, that considers race, that considers position, that considers religion. To serve is the same as to rule. To serve, the case of the musicians that serve through his music, becomes like what many will say, the cool ruler, because all you need to hear is the signature and you are easily carried away. You see people dance to a piece of music. Is that not ruling them? There was no fear because it elicits joy from deep within the human personality. That's which is being shown in a very simple example is what that light bearer that came to guide the person in the near-death experience, showing him this, showing him this is, it brought joy and happiness. Is there any individual, any human personality who does not need joy and happiness? As it is pure and good for you, so may it be for the other person. That is all. Those who do not wish it, those who do not strive after such, who are able to extract the blessing, enjoy the blessing, who refuse to pass it on so that others will enjoy. Such becomes an inner pressure deep within them. That inner pressure presses them down, like a compression, and therefore they feel heavy. The laws of nature, of creation, are simple within themselves.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this answer, and um, you know how we should be as human beings. You put the picture for that. We've come to the end of the show, listeners, on the topic of near-death experience. Hope you've enjoyed the discussion. I'd just like to end uh, the show with a reading from the Grail Message, In the Light of Truth by Abrushin. And this is called, it's the beginning of the Grail Message and is titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such, it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the present day chaos. Out of the chaos of the present day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Abrushin. And dear listeners, if you want to get more information on the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grail, that's Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a beautiful week.
Same from me, listeners. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time.